we are. Good evening, everybody. Father Mark, thank you for joining us for In Lieu of the Pew. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. This is Katie DeLosto. Some of you may know her. Katie and I have been friends since she was 8 and I was 12, which was what, like 22 years ago?
At least.
We wanted at least. There we go. There we go. So I asked Katie to come in tonight to help facilitate reading your questions, to kind of keep an eye on anything coming in on...
And to have our Germex so that we can be safe and be appropriate.
On
so
the,
we are.
on
well,
the Twitter page.
We can't guarantee appropriate, but we can
Right.
guarantee safe.
There you go. So we have some questions that people have sent in ahead of time. Thank you to all of you. And then if you do have something else you'd like to ask as the conversation goes along this evening for however long we do this, my Twitter page is Father Mark Wiesner, F-R, Mark, W-I-E-S-N-E-R. Or you can just hashtag something in lieu of the pew, and we'll be looking for those Twitter questions as they come up. In fact, there's one on Twitter already that we'll probably get to.
And I have a list. If you guys have emailed in some as well, so...
Sure.
And then in Facebook Live, we're also going to get questions people can put in Facebook Live as well. We'll get questions that way. Whatever works. So, all right.
So thank you for joining us. I did a count the other day of our Sunday Mass. And as I went through all the comments, I just kept track of where people were checking in from. There were people actually from 10 different states, and as Father Luke let us know, from Uganda, who watched our Sunday Mass. So thank you for that. I also know, because I've been getting feedback, that for some of you, finding that on Facebook Live has been a bit difficult. And I agree, where Facebook Live places that on our webpage or on our community page when it begins is kind of a little odd. So what we're hoping to do is very soon start webcasting live on YouTube.
Yay!
And we can just put YouTube right on our homepage. You just go to Catholic President, it will be there. But to do that, we need 1,000 YouTube subscribers or followers. It's a free subscription, costs nothing. It just lets YouTube know that you're interested in the material that we'll be putting out there. So at the very bottom of our webpage, matter of fact, I have our webpage here.
Of course you do.
So if you went to our webpage, if you go all the way to the bottom of it, I'm going to the bottom of it, there's actually a YouTube emblem. You just click on that, it'll take you to YouTube, take you to our page, and you just click that you're subscribing. And if we can get that up to 1,000 people, we'll be able to start webcasting on YouTube, which I think will be a much better platform for us and for those who are trying to follow.
So for those of you on Facebook, and when you subscribe to YouTube, you can actually share that. So you can share that on social media. Please help out our church. We're all trying to get to 1,000 likes. So if each person shares it with 10 people, we'll get to that 1,000 likes, or 1,000 subscribers
quickly.
Very, very quickly. So not only is it just people in our community, but people all over the country, all over the world can subscribe. YouTube doesn't care who subscribes or what part of the planet that they're subscribing. So go ahead and just ask friends and family to help so that we can get the Mass on Sunday live on YouTube, which makes it a lot easier for everybody to see it.
Well, especially with Palm Sunday coming up and all the Holy Week services, we want to make sure that those are as available and easy for people as possible. So if we can get the YouTube up and going, that would be great.
Speaking of Palm Sunday...
I was going to say, I'll probably do a separate video about YouTube tomorrow anyway. So Palm Sunday, yes.
Palm Sunday.
Well, first question.
Yes, because I saw this on a list of questions. This is from Christopher, so thank you, Christopher. So I know how important, because we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I know how important the Triduum is to you.
Yeah.
And
it's like Christmas.
I know. It's your
really
favorite time of the year,
Yeah.
above and beyond even a Star Wars release. It is more important to you. That's
big.
that important. That I know how important this is to you. And somebody wrote this question that says, how will you feel not having the parish community there to celebrate the Triduum Masses with you?
Wow. I really don't know.
Do you need tissue?
I think no, too many tissues. It's going to be a whole different experience. Already webcasting Mass without a congregation present and trying to preach to people is already a very different experience, because at least when I preach in the church with an assembly present, I pick up on all kinds of non-visual cues. I see people shaking their heads or people, whatever. It gives me some sense of they're getting my point or they're with me or whatever. So I've got none of that. Plus the fact that we're trying to do this at a time that's like really sort of odd in people's lives, very disconcerting, very angstful for some people, very dramatic, very fearful, very confusing, whatever. And again, I can't be in touch with people to speak with them before or after Mass and get all that sort of... So just regular Mass, even daily Mass, is been wholly different. Been very different sort of experience of prayer. It's been prayerful, it's just been different. the Triduum, where normally we would be having, like on Palm Sunday, we'd have processions, or Easter Vigil, we'd have a procession, or on Holy Thursday, the foot washing, and all these things that are not going to happen this year. I really don't know what it's going to feel like. And when we were going through replanning all these services, obviously because we had to adjust for what's happened, it was just very odd to say, well, so this year we won't have foot washing, and when it comes to the Easter Vigil, there'll be no big vigil fire outside. There'll be no baptisms, no confirmations, none of those things. It almost becomes like almost a normal Mass. Just instead we're doing Easter prayers and readings instead of ordinary time prayers and readings. So we are working to try to figure out how to keep those days sort of holy for people anyway. But the challenge is also, right, we're not working in the full space. Mm-hmm. We're working at that end of the chapel. Mm-hmm. So to try to keep everything on one end of the chapel where we can webcast effectively for people to watch is another challenge. So there's just to use the word, there's the production end of it. How do we make this look beautiful and feel beautiful within the limited space of the camera frame for people? So the whole thing is kind of a challenge. Along with every other church in the world, we're sort of, figuring out as we go. So not having the assembly there is going to change it dramatically.
Of course.
And the services will be shorter. Plus, I've got this reality in my life. For the last 18 years, I've been the only priest in every parish I've been at. When I left here in 2001, until I came back here in 2020, 2019, I was the only priest in all the parishes I went to. So I presided and preached at everything.
Everything.
Good Friday, Holy Thursday, Easter Vigil, Easter Sunday. And not presiding at all those services and holding them together is going to be a whole new experience. Since Father Luke is around, it's going to, he'll be participating and presiding some of those, and it's like, that'll be wholly different for me too. So I expect the Triduum to feel very different. But I also know that it's a grace-filled time, and that it may be in this year more than other years, people need to hear the good news of Christ's triumph, of Christ alive, of the new life we're called to, of the hope that gives us. The message may be in some ways really more relevant for people this year than it has been in past years. So once we get through it, I'll be able to let you know what it was like to do it in that way. But I expect it to feel very different for me this year.
Right, if you're not in the fetal position.
Yeah,
so.
I
have some moments
exactly,
of sadness.
I don't think so, yeah.
Well, and I think it sounds like the Triduum was going to be different for you this year anyway.
Yes.
You weren't expecting this kind of difference,
No.
But I think it will be an opportunity to be creative. Which
it is.
I think a lot of people are finding in multiple aspects of their life right now. It's an opportunity to be silly and creative and things like that. So what are some of the silly and creative things that you're doing to be safe in these times as a lonely pastor?
That's so funny because I think in the first week of...
That's a question from Tim, by the way.
Tim.
So thank you, Tim.
I think is that Tim and Mary?
That is Tim and Mary.
I've known them since before I was ordained. Thank you, Tim and Mary. Good to see you guys. Well, I can't see you, but thank you for chiming in. So I think that the very first week that we went into shelter in place, the little video I put out, one of the things I said was use this time to be creative, figure out what to do, and so one of the things that we're doing that's creative is in Lieu of the Pew. It's like
silly Facebook Live.
Silly Facebook Live. We're sitting there going, you know what? I'm bored. I'm going a little stir crazy. I know. I'll talk with people. Why not? Invite people into my living room and we'll do that. I've been having some fun learning how to work with Zoom. Have some Zoom meetings and
lots of people have been having fun with Zoom.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the camera turns on the moment that you enter into a Zoom meeting. So that's note to self.
I've learned that and how to do backgrounds. There's a website called Roll20, which is a website to play games on. And so I have friends from college who I've known for many years. And we were supposed to get together this coming Saturday to enjoy some time together. We can't do that. So we figured out how to use Roll20.
What do you do on your time together with your friends on a Saturday?
Well, we've done all our lives together. Yeah, we play role-playing games. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
That's what you're looking for.
That's what I'm
what
looking
you're looking for. Dungeons and Dragons. I usually play a cleric. Surprise, surprise. I play a cleric, or if I get into the guy being the warrior, I'm the paladin, the holy warrior.
I don't even know. You're
which
speaking
I
a
do.
totally different language
Well,
now. I
okay,
have
there
no
we
idea
go.
what you're talking about.
But that's something that I actually have done that since I was in 7th grade, I think.
They've done it for a very long
I don't
time.
do it very often, but when I do it, it's very, very enjoyable. Primarily because of the guys I play it with. My brother and 5 friends from college. And, you know, after almost 30 years, there's so many inside jokes. And sometimes you just have to look at each other and you're laughing until you got tears running down your face. It's a good thing.
Well, okay, so that's I think a lot of people are struggling, just as you are, to stay connected with friends for those types. And we were talking about, or, you know, before we turned on Facebook Live, about humor, right? And how important humor and laughter and everything is. So what are you doing to, you know, to make you laugh, and what are you doing like to stay connected to some of those friends that you can't get together with, and how are you doing that just as a human, not only as a priest?
The friend thing is a fascinating thing because almost everyone has heard me say every Lent that the idea of Lent is to help us come to a deeper awareness of God's action and God's presence and God's love in our life, right? And so very often, I don't think giving up chocolate or giving up alcohol and that actually brings you to a deeper presence of God's love, right? I know in my own life, very often where I've encountered God's love for me is through other people. You know, people minister to me, people who are friends, people who their presence, their support makes all the difference in my life and, you know, brought me to priesthood and hold me up. And so one of the things I usually do in Lent is I try to sit back and go, okay, who are the people who helped bring God's presence, God's action, God's love into my life that I've lost touch with? And I'll use Lent as a chance to reach back out. That's all the more profound this Lenten season, where I spend a good part of every day in this very room that we're in right now. And thank goodness for all the technology we have available to us. Can you imagine what this would be like if we did not have the internet? I mean, I know there's been a lot of complaints about Facebook in years past, but Facebook is like just holding some people together. Mm-hmm. So Facebook, Twitter, I've actually started making more phone calls, not just texting, but actually talking to people, hearing voices. People are picking up the phone now, and people are picking it up. Mm-hmm. Skype has been a great thing to have at hand, to reach out and get back in touch with people. And somehow the humor always manages to show up. I have to admit, if you go online right now, thank you interwebs people, the creativity has been amazing. Both the way that people have changed words and songs to kind of fit what's going on. Oh, Chris Mann, M-A-N-N, his version of Hello.
Right.
It's so just the quiet desperation in his face is so good throughout that video. But in many of the memes or the other things that people are posting, just funny.
And it's okay to laugh at some of these things that are just, you know.
You need to.
You have to.
I mean, I often tell people, especially if we're doing a funeral, this will make sense in a moment. but often we'll you know, either during the funeral or even in the cemetery as we're doing the committal, something will happen, a story will come up, a memory of the person will come up that gets people laughing. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people that's remarkable. That laughter in the graveyard is a sign of Christian hope. That in that moment, when we're so very much aware of the reality of death, we can still laugh. That there is this sign of hope. Because if you can laugh at something, it really doesn't have much power over you anymore at all. The fear goes away, the angst goes away. There's some sort of comfort that happens in that, in good, honest laughter.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's okay to tell a joke or to, you know, read something to go, ooh,
oh yeah,
that may. Oh yeah, but that's really funny,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah, yeah,
and so there's a lot of, like you said, things on the interweb that are doing that, and so I think what you said about picking up the phone is interesting. Have you found more people are answering their phone?
Yes. Only once did someone not answer, and about 10 minutes later they called back. So they're, you know, doing something or whatever. But yeah, but people are picking up the phones. They're there.
So you can use this time as part of your Lenten journey. To, if somebody pops into your head that you haven't thought about in a while, right, or haven't talked to, or maybe you haven't talked to because you've been angry or frustrated and you need to, maybe it's a great time to mend a fence.
It is.
Right? Yes.
It is. Yeah.
And people answer the phone now.
Just catch up and just, yeah.
All right, let's see. I got more questions here.
I'll check out Twitter.
All right, check Twitter. Okay.
See if anything's happening on the Twitter feed.
People, okay, since we're talking about funerals, somebody asked about the last rites. You know, are you able to go and do that with all of the provisions at hospitals and other care facilities. Well, what is the policy on last rites for people so that they can?
Sure.
I'm saying this is from Gloria.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you, Gloria. Good question, because people are concerned about those things. So the direction from the bishop has been not to go celebrate anointing of the sick. However, if someone is near death, we can go celebrate last rites. Matter of fact, I was up at Stanford Valley Care today celebrating last rites with someone. It takes a little bit more to get in because security has to check you. They have to make a couple calls around hospital administration, but then you get in. But even that's different because in this day and age, right now, even when someone's passing, family's not allowed in. So there's not family to pray with. One of the nurses was there to pray today along with me and the person who was passing. But so last rites we can go do as long as the hospital or skilled nurse or whoever will let us in.
Okay.
So absolutely.
So you're still able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you have any more questions? Go ahead.
I've actually got 3 that come here. So one of them is I haven't seen Father Philly for a while. Is he okay? Thank you for asking. I was talking to Father Philly today. Some of you may know that Father Philly had planned a pilgrimage with a pilgrimage group to Guadalupe, to see Our Lady of Guadalupe. That was supposed to happen pretty much exactly when the shelter-in-place order went in place. Obviously, that tour was canceled, but Father Philly decided that he was going to travel home to Mexico anyway, since we had already sort of arranged the schedule to have him off. So he went to Mexico, and while he was there, the shelter-in-place went in, and he called and said, should I come back, or can I stay longer? And I told him, I said, if you want to use your vacation, stay, sure, why not? He's with his family and that. So he was staying, and he was going to come home on Saturday. But now the shelter-in-place has been extended. So I talked to him today, and he's going to stay 1 more week. So he'll be home shortly after Easter. But he's fine. He's doing great. He's having a wonderful time. I told him people were asking about him, so thank you for that. What are the plans for Holy Week live stream mass? And this is Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for your questions. Hashtag stay safe. Hashtag Lieu Of The Pew. And then another one, Estrada wants to know, what is the plan for Holy Week given the shelter-in-place extension? So we will be doing all the Holy Week services live webcast. Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Vigil, and Easter Sunday. We will do all those services. Keep it on our webpage as we get those all planned and in place. I'm trying to remember, I think we're going to do Thursday and Friday at 7 and Easter Vigil 8:30, so we have to wait for the sun to go down, and Easter Sunday at 10, as we've been doing every Sunday at 10. But we will be live streaming all of those things for everybody. And I also have on my desktop, I haven't sent them out yet because I don't want to get too far ahead for people, but we have many wonderful organizations, a liturgical press and some other folks have been putting out Holy Week at home, so resources for families to keep each of those holy days, whether they're scripture readings or questions for reflection or activities that people can do. And we will get those to people when we hit Holy Week next week. We'll put those out.
Perfect.
Although I did see, and I like this idea, someone's been suggesting, and a lot of people forwarded to me, that maybe for Palm Sunday, since we won't all have palms on Palm Sunday in the morning, to put any kind of green leafy branch or whatever on your door, on your front door, so that as you move through the neighborhoods, or you're out taking walks, going for a run, maybe driving somewhere, and you see green on people's doors, you'll know that they are keeping Palm Sunday. And while you're here, those of you who've joined us, I'll give you the heads up. There's more coming in.
I just got a text. I wonder if that's the one coming in. So
yeah. So what we're going to do is all the palms for Palm Sunday arrived today, right? Because they were ordered months ago. We couldn't cancel them, so we've got 5 enormous boxes full of palms for Palm Sunday. So at the Palm Sunday webcast mass this coming Sunday at 10, we will bless those palms, and then we will bring them over here to St. Augustine Church. St. Augustine Church is open daily from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Actually, it's open right now because I haven't gone over to lock it yet. And we will have those palms in the church up by the altar so that over the course of Sunday afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can come as you might be able to get a palm or some palms if you would like to have them. So they'll be available. So,
okay, I've got a few more questions here. All right. We have a question on somebody wants to know how your dad's doing.
Wow.
Isn't that
Thank
cute?
you. All right.
Hi, Cliff.
Yeah. I don't know if he's watching or not. Dad is doing well. Actually, he's living in an active senior retirement center. He's got his own sort of apartment thing. And and they're in shelter in place too, very much so. All the normal activities they would be having, they've canceled, obviously, because they're a large gathering of vulnerable population. I FaceTime with him almost every day and talk to him, and he's doing all right. He's doing all right. He's trying not to go stir crazy. With the weather being nicer, he likes to go out on his deck and have a glass of Gewürztraminer wine. That's his thing to do. And he takes his dog for several walks a day.
Very sweet wine.
Yeah, he likes it. he takes his dog for several walks a day and plays with his dog, and and so I guess fortunately my dad, for being in his 80s, he's proficient with texting, with a tablet, with a computer, with phone, so he's able to stay connected with people all over the place too.
Very good. All right, very important question from Tim and Mary. How tall are you?
6 foot exactly.
Wow.
I had my annual physical on February 12th, and I was 6 foot exactly.
Nicely done. And then somebody asked about the Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland. Have you been on it?
I've not. Would you believe that I have not been to Galaxy's Edge? I've not been to the Star Wars land at Disney yet. I actually haven't been to Disneyland in probably 3.5, 4 years, which is a shame because I really enjoy going there. But there's part
I
of
have
me...
an annual pass. Let me
You have an annual pass? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But I have a friend who works for Disney. He's kind of high up in the Disney organization.
Nice.
He did a lot of work in Disney Shanghai and other things. And I know in Disney Orlando at Galaxy's Edge, they're building a Star Wars hotel.
Oh.
Which is, I mean, all the details about it, it's going to be an amazing experience. So part of me wants to just wait until that opens in May of 2021.
Wow.
And then go there, stay in the hotel, do the land. And I understand even like your hotel stay has to be 3 days, 2 nights, because there's actually like a story arc to your stay kind of thing. And they just want the whole immersive experience. So part of me is like, I think I want to wait until I can just go and do the whole, like have the whole experience, right? So I've been very good about avoiding spoilers about the rides and all that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I know, because we've known each other for a long time, but other people might not know. How did you, what about Star Wars first captured you back in the day when you were just a youngin'?
When it first came out in 1977.
Yes.
It's so funny because I can remember one evening at home after dinner washing the dishes and the TV was on and there was a commercial for Star Wars. And thinking, well, that
they had TV back in
the day? There was a TV back then. It was about this big. The screen was right. And just thinking, that movie does not look like anything I'd be interested in at all. There was nothing about the preview or the television commercial that attracted me. I had no sense of how big it was going on in the world, but my parents did. And so we went to a Saturday evening vigil mass, and they took us on Sunday morning for an early show, and it was jam-packed. And we actually, it was the first time I've gone to a movie where I wasn't sitting with my parents. They were sitting back over there, and I was like in the second row with my brother, right up front and center.
Back in the day when your front
row
row was like
this.
Right.
This was in Walnut Creek, downtown Walnut Creek. And the movie started, and the soundtrack, John Williams, of course, is brilliant. I was like, well, that's pretty good. And then the words started to pan up, and I literally thought, am I here for a book or a movie? What is this that's happening, right? So the words go, and then the camera pans down to Tatooine, and at the time there was only one moon. They've added a second moon in the, but so okay, there's that. Princess Leia's blockade runner goes overhead. I'm like, oh, and then Darth Vader's Star Destroyer comes over.
Nice sound effect.
Changed my life.
So, but what about the movie?
That moment, I just felt the creativity break open in my mind. And I actually, it was the fourth time I saw the movie, the fourth time that I finally got the plot. The sounds and the visuals were so much that I didn't need a plot. It was just like, so, I think it was the creativity in it, and let's face it, what George Lucas pulled on was very archetypal images that really are powerful for people. I mean, obviously so powerful. Star Wars is still so popular because the archetypal images work of light and dark and good and evil and the hero and trying to overcome great odds, working together with the team, all those things that just made it really sort of very, very powerful. I love the story. I think in most of the movies, the story's not very well told, though. So in terms of movies, they're not great.
Right.
But the stories and a lot of the spin-offs have been fabulous. Yeah.
It just swept you off your feet. Huh?
It did. I've never seen anything like it. Well, no one had ever seen anything like it, right? It was a quantum leap in movie making.
Yes. Well, all right. So that's a story, and this has been a terrible segue. But somebody had asked about, you get caught up in a story, right? So some people are asking. I got my phone keeps buzzing, but have some more questions. One of the, what scripture readings would you recommend? Or again, some of the stories in the Bible that can kind of take you away from where you are. Some people that maybe need a little break from. I mean, I'm advocating not watching TV news because it can just get very depressing. So it's a way to get into the scriptures again. Is there something that you recommend for people right now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's 1,000 stories running through my mind at the moment. I mean, obviously the ones we've heard the last 2 weeks of Lent, right? The woman at the well, the man born blind, Lazarus. One of the key readings we'll hear at the Easter Vigil is the Exodus story, the part of the Red Sea. That whole sequence in Exodus is so powerful about what God does to bring a people to himself, to make a nation for himself. Of course, any of the resurrection stories during the Easter, any of the resurrection appearances would be maybe very meaningful to people. The road to Emmaus, right now might mean a lot to people. You can find all kinds of readings if you go to the website of the bishops of the United States.
Okay. So
United States Conference of Catholic Conference of Bishops, USCCB, usccb.org. They have a link where you can get the readings every day for that day, whether it's daily mass or weekend mass. And so all these beautiful readings we're having during this season are right there and available for people to get.
Very cool.
That'd be great.
And then I know you'd be mad at me if I didn't talk to you about that book that you gave me. But
I've given away a lot of these. Yeah.
So I'm terrible at the silent prayer because I'm a talker and a doer, and so you gave me that book to help me get better at it.
This is the Finding Your Hidden Treasure, The Way of Silent Prayer. Talked about this on the Parish Mission.
I'm gonna see what other questions I got coming in, but tell me what you love about that book while I look at other questions.
I think this, for all of my extrovert qualities, I have one very strong introvert quality, and that is I get recharged by being alone. And this book has really helped me go much deeper in my spiritual life and connect with God in a very quiet but profound way. It's one of those books where when I read it, I'm not like, oh, that's something new. It's like, oh, that's something I always knew. I just didn't have a way to describe it before. And having the categories now to describe it and work with it has just helped me embrace it all the more. I'm on my second time reading through it, just slowly and carefully. And it's interesting because I used a pencil to highlight things the first time I went through. The second time through, I'm highlighting different things with the pencil, so it's speaking to me differently as I go through it a second time.
Just helping me. That book is very much helpful. Because I'm a say the rosary person.
Yes, yeah.
Like the rosary, when I'm feeling stressed,
a beautiful prayer.
I love to say the rosary, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah. Versus
when I'm just in silent prayer, my mind starts to race, and so I'm working on really quieting that. And I'm not 100%. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no. Well, and I don't know if we're ever really there. I think I've told you, I know I've told other people that when I go on my silent retreat for like 5 or 7 days. There are two things that happen right off the bat. The first is in the first 48 hours, I sleep for about 36 of them. It's like I keep thinking, I can't still be tired. And then the second thing is, so that's the first 2 days. At the same time, when I'm not having any technology around and not, no television, no anything, and just like trying to be quiet, somewhere in the third day, the third afternoon, the mind spins down, all that chatter up there stops. So suddenly my body is rested and my mind is quiet. And then this becomes like, you enter into God's presence in a whole different way than I do the rest of the year when everything else is going on. This gives me a way to like sort of touch it a little bit, what I experience when I go away for 5 to 7 days of silence.
So Leonard has a question. He wants to know, who am I?
Leonard, hey there. So you joined us late. This is my friend Katie. We've known each other almost all our lives. I've known her. I was 12.
At least 40 years.
She was 8. Our parents knew each other. Sort of lifelong friends. And I just asked Katie to come along tonight to ask the questions. That this could be more conversational than me just staring at the camera talking to you guys.
And just if you want more, what I do is I'm a leadership and sales consultant. I've done retreats and offsites for your team at previous churches, and we have been to Italy multiple times with the Missionary of Mercy work, and so it's. Yeah, we're just very good friends.
Yeah.
So
if you have a question for Katie, you can put that down here too. But no, but it's funny because we go over to Italy and I'm there at the Vatican doing my Mission of Mercy stuff. Katie's written a book and there's some American bookstores in Rome and she'll go speak at the bookstores. And we sort of both do our thing.
Get our thing. And I speak enough Italian to make me dangerous, which helps at restaurants. So that's what. Well, that's there's a couple great questions here. Oh, I like this one. Since we know your dad likes Gewürztraminer, what is your favorite wine?
Oh, that's I don't drink a whole lot of wine anymore.
You gave it up for Lent.
I gave up alcohol for Lent. But I tend to prefer Manhattan actually. I like a good Manhattan. That's a little on the smooth side. If I had to pick a wine, for the longest time I really liked a Merlot. I started to like Cabernets. So I like some of the more rich red wines. Yeah.
Okay, that's why we go to Italian dinners together to do that. And this is actually one of my favorite stories, so I'm glad somebody asked this. Laura wants to know why you decided to become a priest. I love this story, so I want you to share it with people.
I always tell people I'm in it for the money. And that's exactly that's the reaction I get for it. I think it was C.S. Lewis who, when asked why he chose to become a Christian, he said, "I didn't choose Christianity. Christianity chose me." And in a very real way, I don't feel like I chose the priesthood. It sort of chose me. The story's long, like too long for me to really tell tonight about everything that gradually brought me at the age of 26 to enter the seminary, at 32 to be ordained. It was a whole experience of being on the national evangelization teams, which was one of the most influential, powerful years of my life. I guess I could say in brief, I spent a year of my life talking about faith and sharing faith with people, helping people grow in faith. And faith is one of those things that the more you give it away, the more you end up with. That's kind of how it works. And so by the time I got done with that year, I was beginning to think I could do this for a living, sharing my faith. I did not yet think priesthood. I was thinking sharing my faith, and that just led me to the seminary and onward and so forth. So there's a sense of thinking that it chose me. I look back on my life and see where, I was active in my faith all my life. My parents were like, we're going to church, right, whether I want to or not. And like, I think most elementary school and middle school and teenagers, I didn't want to go. The response to that was not to go like, instead I got involved. I was an altar server, I sang in the choir, I was a lector. And it didn't mean I always enjoyed every moment of church. But what it meant was, at least for little bits of it, I had something to do, right? Something to do. And of course, when all the members of the parish saw me up, they're like, "Oh, you'll make a great priest someday." All the silver, blue hair, gray old ladies, you'll make a great priest someday. And I was always like, "Yeah, no, not me." I look back now and I go, "Okay, there was that experience of God's people mediating God to me, and mine just not being able to hear it at that time." So I think that call's always sort of kind of there. As I went through my life and as I did theater, as I got an undergraduate degree in communications, as I did the other things, I didn't know how it was all going to come together. God obviously did. So I ended up being a priest because I just tried to remain open to what God was calling me to, and this is what it ended up being.
And what year is it this year, Mark? Father Mark?
June 10 will be 25 years.
Yay!
And we were going to do some sort of celebration,
but a party. We don't know.
Now
Sometime this year we'll do a party.
Well, I was saying maybe we'll just wait and do 26 years. We'll just throw a party at 26 instead, I
have a really bad habit, for anybody who didn't catch that, of calling him Mark and not Father Mark, because I've known him for so long that
She knew me for Mark decades before I became Father Mark.
No, we have lots more questions.
This is amazing.
Awesome. I love this. Oh, great. Oh, Maria, love this.
Maria,
okay, we're just going to start singing. Maria, thank you, I think. Actually, I do love your voice.
Oh, thank you.
I just said it publicly.
Yeah, she's never said that before.
Is watching the Mass later versus watching it live, does it change the value of Mass?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think it does. No, the value of Mass, I think you can, when you're watching it, whether live or later, when you have time to. It depends a whole lot on the disposition of your heart and the prayerfulness that you bring to it, right? I mean, so.
Got your bunny slippers on while you're watching.
You know. But no, I don't think it makes that
It's
big
if
a
you're in the
difference.
presence of
Yeah,
the moment
I mean,
and taking it in.
You have to remember too that God is outside of time, right? And so if you're praying a mass that was actually celebrated an hour earlier, is your prayer somehow less? Is your spiritual communion somehow less? No, I don't think so.
All right, well, they're asking you, not me.
Oh, thank you.
So, we're supposed to give a shout out to Lisa from New Jersey. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa from New Jersey.
Lisa from New Jersey.
Thank you. Is Lisa from New Jersey watching? Good to have you with us, New Jersey.
Somebody asked, and shoot, I forgot to look who it was. Somebody asked about confession.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do? Because my priest told me that I had to go to confession before Christmas and Easter, and I've been pretty good about it. And so this year is a little tough. So
Sure.
How do we do that?
Well,
and we had the Pope's blessing on Friday, which helped with that.
That was amazing. In canon law, I remember being taught in canon law that emergencies always rewrite the rules, because you can't adapt you can't anticipate everything coming up.
Right.
I mean, here at St. Charles at where am I? CCOP.
CCOP.
Thank you. I was going to say, because I know at St. Charles, at St. Michael's, at Holy Spirit, at All Saints, at several other parishes, St. Raymond's, did I mention them? Are all doing what we're doing, drive-through confession.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a chance for you to come and celebrate confession at a social distance,
Right.
6 foot. I mean, some people have done it with their window up. You know, you can hear them through the window,
Mm-hmm.
and that still works. So there's still that opportunity to celebrate the sacrament. So that's there. Actually, it was very beautiful. Last Saturday when we had drive-through confessions, there was one lady who said to me, she hadn't been in confessions in a long time. She said, but right now I can't receive the Eucharist, so I came for this sacrament.
Oh.
Yeah, to receive the grace in the sacrament. Which
And
I thought was just a lovely way to see that.
And there are people though that don't feel comfortable leaving their houses. Maybe they've got
Right.
compromised immune system.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
how does somebody like that who can't, for whatever reason, get to drive-through confession, or what is
Sure.
what
Well,
is the plan
in
for
a
that?
normal time, it would be call, we come see you,
Mhm.
and we'll celebrate that in your home with you, and that's usually not a problem. Right now, it is. But especially if the question is about like getting your Easter duty in, you have the entire Easter season to accomplish that, all the way through Pentecost. So, and if we're still in this when Pentecost gets here, we've got some really serious issues we need to be
Right.
dealing with, But and on top of that, as always, God understands. We can only do what we can do. We can't be expected to do what we cannot do. So we do the best we can in the circumstance we find ourselves. And God's loving and God's merciful and God's understanding. God knows what's going on. God knows what our heart wants, even if we can't get to it, right?
I agree. Somebody had asked about, and I think it was Anne. Anne had asked, what's the best way to continue to tithe? To do your, is it sticking it in the mail? I know you like electronic.
Yeah.
So what way can people still continue to support the church if they're in a position or a place to be able to support the church
Sure.
financially? What that looks like?
Thank you, Anne, for the question. Matter of fact, Anne's not the only person to ask me that. I've gotten that a lot in the last couple of weeks. I appreciate people's sense of stewardship. And actually, it's been very encouraging to me, even though I haven't said anything about money yet. There have been a whole lot of people who have been mailing in their regular envelopes or dropping them through the rectory door, which has been great. But just today, with the fact that our shelter place is extended for more than another month, we're very much aware that we are going to need financial support. We've got something in savings, but we can't run forever just on the savings.
Right.
And I would say probably in the month of March, our plate collection, which is our primary source of income, it makes up for more than 80 or 85% of our budget. Obviously, we haven't had any, right? The kind of public masses has been no plate collection.
Right.
So we're probably down around $50,000 in March alone in terms of what we anticipate in our budget. So right now, if you go to the Parish website, we just put this up today, catholicpleasant.org, and I'll just hold it here so you can see. If you go down, there's a little bit of a note from me about our financial situation, and we've got 3 different ways that people can give.
Okay.
2 of them are electronic. One is Tithely, which this parish actually used to collect funds to help those in the Northern California fires last year. It's incredibly simple. Like when I was shown that, I'm like, well, that's it. That's the answer. It's so very simple. It's ridiculous. It's like, wow, that very simple. The second one is the diocese itself has created a website or a link on their webpage where you can put in your information, choose the parish you want to support. You can support any parish in the diocese, enter your donation, and 100% of it goes to the parish. So that's our second link. There's the diocesan website. And the third option is, of course, just to mail it in here or drop it through the rectory, the slot in the rectory door, mail slot. So that's right there. If you go to, again, the web page, and it's right underneath, there's Father Luke doing today's Mass. There's Father Luke. I thought I saw Father Luke walk by.
Oh.
Is he
Not
there?
yet.
Not
Have you
yet.
seen Father Luke coming? Oh, wait, there he is!
Luke,
I
are you
see
there?
him.
Come say hi to all the
Come
wonderful
on.
people. Come on. He's like shy.
You gotta remind
Come on,
social
come on,
distance. Here, you
Hey.
take my spot. Take my
No,
spot. No, because then we can maintain
No, that's
social
okay.
distance.
He can be here.
Oh.
You can be there, and I'll grab
Another chair?
I can get another
Okay.
chair.
All right,
So,
okay.
go ahead.
All right, well then I can ask Father Luke
Hi.
this question. Hi.
How
Say hi to everybody on Facebook.
How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Well, this it gotta be it's further away from me.
I know, but then I'm out of the frame. So
Oh, all right,
maybe I'll just sit back here for a while. And
Ah.
I'll watch for a minute.
All
so.
right, there you go.
Go.
Let's see. Oh, Annette was the one who asked the question about confession. Thank you, Annette. So I actually have two questions for both of you. All right, you ready? You have
Yeah,
You
go.
can come over because you guys live
Oh,
together.
that's
you can
true.
actually bid by
We're-
now.
We're having dinner together every
Yeah,
night.
together. You're probably safe, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll ask Father Luke first. What is your favorite thing about being a priest? Oh, this is from Anne.
Wow, favorite thing. I mean, it's the people, really, at the end of the day. It is why we got into the ministry and being able to be present, to serve, to celebrate great times and to walk with them and you during difficult times, I think is I think the reason why I'm a priest.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, it's Father Mark.
Nope,
you
whatever.
you kind of got the father.
I don't think I called him Father Luke. Did I?
Don't know. I don't recall. But no, I mean, yeah, very much so. It's amazing the way that people invite us into their lives, into their homes, in the most human of moments, right? In the most joyful moments, baptisms, weddings, whatever. In the most difficult moments, illness, loss. They invite us to share their graduations and to be part of all those wonderful, beautiful family moments that we don't have families in the same way. But it's just their trust and their willingness to bring us into their lives that's so amazingly beautiful. And then our chance to try to give back to them as we can, God's words and God's sacraments and God's mercy and God's love for them. It's amazing to me, and I know it will happen here as it's happened with every other parish I've been at, is after enough years, you can look out at the assembly on a Sunday, and you probably know 98% of the people and something of their life and something of their story. And to lead prayer for those people knowing what's happening, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever that is, what their jobs are, what their struggles are, what their joys are, is like, this is family now. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Oh, I'm glad you had. Those are good answers. That sounds good. Because you did good. Because there is somebody, and I'm sure she's not alone. But Lori is feeling a little scared and isolated during these times, and I know she's not alone. We all have had our moments of that. So, what advice, counsel can you give to those people that you don't get to see to serve, and how can you serve them in this time of having those real scary feelings and feeling isolated?
Yeah.
Talk to.
Well,
Hi, Lori.
hope,
Thanks, Lori.
Yeah.
You're not alone in that. You are not alone in that. Yeah.
I hope you could join us at our liturgical celebrations, even remotely, as many of you do, because you realize that you are not the only one who does it. There are so many others, but as Father Mark said, we are in this together. And today, as I was reflecting on the readings, one of the things that I mentioned is how God plants little seeds of hope in these times. If you listen very carefully to the readings, I mean, today it was the redemption of 3 young men who had been cast into a furnace.
Yes.
By God. And then on Monday it was Susanna who got very close to being killed, and to see how they're not alone even in those darkest moments of their lives when they feel almost alone and abandoned by God. And then finally, there is the big moment of redemption, and you realize that our God is right there with us. This Sunday, as the gospel of the raising of Lazarus told us, he's at the grave weeping with those who weep, weeping for the ones who are, who are gone, but also assuring us that that is not God's final word, that resurrection and life. And so for those of us who have that faith, it helps us in many ways to get through these stormy times, I think.
Yeah. I know for me it has a lot to do with whether it's the pandemic we're going through now, or when my mom was so sick and passing, or other moments that it's the choice to choose to trust God. That I don't know where this is going, I don't understand why this is happening, I don't even see the way out at the moment, but I'm going to trust that God can bring me through this, that God has got this for me. And to sort of act on the faith that you're talking about, that God is present with me, despite what I'm feeling. That the reality is God's here somewhere, and God is holding me up, and God is beside me. And I think that's one of the blessings of this time, that we have more time for prayer, to seek out God's presence with us, and to trust that He's present to us. Even in those very scary moments. I mean, all the moments that you were talking about of Scripture, very scary moments. Tossed in a furnace, Susanna, who her life is at risk here, Martha, Mary with their brother who is dead, and yet in each of those moments, they turn to God. They turn to the Lord. They what Martha even says, Lord, if you had not been here, my brother would not have been dead. But even now, I know whatever you ask of God, God will give you, right? Even in the midst of her being upset and her being fearful, whatever you ask, God will give you. It's going to be taken care of. That sense of trust in God, even though our human emotions are out of control, I think for me, that's what I sort of cling to. It's like, I don't get this, I don't understand this, but I'm going to choose to trust and believe that God's here. Right? So often when God comes to people looking to bring them things or share with them things, the first words He shares with them is, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. That's the constant admonition from Scripture. Do not be afraid. It's there. And
I've been thinking recently, I mean, think about, we have been quarantined or sheltered in place for these couple of weeks. My ministry in the jail, I mean, I work with people who go through this for much longer, and without really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And can you think about spending hours in a cell that is really not much larger than your bathroom, if even that? And, being in that judicial process of not knowing, I mean, you go to the judge, and then they give you another 3 months, and then another 3 months, and not knowing, am I going to get 2 years? Am I going to get 10 years? Am I going to go to life? Sometimes I'm wondering if this helps us to have a little more empathy for our brothers and sisters for whom this is life. I mean, we truly would like to believe that this too shall pass, hopefully, within a reasonably measured time. But for those for whom that is not an assurance. And we always keep on reminding them to trust in God, to choose to trust that the good Lord will help you to land in a good place at the right time.
It really is an act of faith, is what it is. It's an act of faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, we're pushing 50 minutes, and I know, like the Mass Singer is on in 10 minutes.
Ah.
So we might want to...
Okay, first of all, I have to comment on Father Luke's socks.
I noticed he's wearing
Not look at it.
Oh, they're awesome.
Christmas socks.
Christmas is a state of mind. I love it.
Yeah.
Anthony wants to know about Stations of the Cross and how to do that and how that's going to be done. And then also continuing to get clarification on getting palms.
Sure. Okay.
So if you could hit that one more time.
Let me do it chronologically. So getting palms on Palm Sunday, because that's just a couple days away. On Palm Sunday at our Palm Sunday Mass, which we will webcast at 10 o'clock, we will bless the palms at that Mass. And then by noon, I'll say that, we'll have the palms in St. Augustine Church in baskets and things around the altar. So you'll be able to come to the church and pick up the palms that you want. St. Augustine Church is open now from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, every single day, Monday through Monday, all the way around, Monday through Sunday. So you can come on Sunday afternoon or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever works for you to get those palms. Once we get to Holy Thursday in the Triduum, the palms will not be there any longer, but you'll have Sunday afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and most of Thursday to come get a palm if you would like to. So those will be available for you there. Stations of the Cross. I believe our youth group is working on like virtual Stations of the Cross that we're hoping to post. There's many different Stations of the Cross on YouTube that you could also use. On Good Friday, the church will be open from 9 to 5, as I'm saying. And we are putting together a Stations of the Cross booklet. So if you wanted to come and pray the Stations of the Cross in St. Augustine Church on Good Friday as a personal devotion, you will be able to come and do that. In terms of our like live webcasting the Stations of the Cross, that won't happen at least this year because of the pandemic and how quickly we're moving to get some tech stuff up. We don't have a lot of people to operate cameras and do things, and so there just comes a point where they need a break, they need to be able to breathe, we need to be able to get ready for our Good Friday evening service, all that sort of stuff. So practically speaking, we're not going to be able to live webcast stations on Good Friday, but there will be options there for you in other ways to do the stations.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Are we
I just
going
want
to
to say
speed round on a few of these?
We started by asking people to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh, yes.
We're up to 315 subscribers.
Woo!
Thank you. We'd like to get that to 1,000, which would be great. So again, if you go to the bottom of our webpage, there's a YouTube link. You touch it, it brings you right to our YouTube page. You just hit subscribe. I've already done that. And that will help us out so that we can start webcasting on this platform, which will probably be a better platform for us.
So we have about 7 minutes, so we're going to do a speed round. You guys ready?
Speed round. Here we go.
Okay, whoever
Ready?
wants to jump in, either one of you, go for it. So we kind of...
Do we need
Father
the
Mark ding, exactly. I have Elena asked why outdoor weddings officiated by a priest are not permitted in the Catholic Church.
That is not a 7-minute answer.
We got 5 more, so go.
That's a huge answer.
Is that one of those call me?
That's one of those call me, or I can email you, or if we do another in Lieu of the Pew, we can do that, because that answer's got some theological rootings and some rootings in our vocation as disciples of Christ who follow him in the church. So it's not a quick yes no answer. It's that's something we can really have a conversation around. So if we do another one of these, or I can email Elena some information.
We'll
but thank you for the question. We get it all the time. All right.
Okay, I'll ask Father Luke this one. It's from An. An wants to know, how long is Jesus physically present in us after we receive Holy Communion? Is it until the external forms of the bread and wine disintegrate, or is it longer than that?
I would like to believe he's with us all the time.
Okay.
I don't think he ever leaves us.
He answers questions much more succinctly than you do.
Well, I mean, the question is how long is he physically with us? Physically, I would think yes, until the elements have been digested, but then we know his spirit is within us always. He's present with us constantly.
Yes. Yeah.
He never leaves us in that way.
And then Anne wants to know, how can we get communion?
At this time?
Just
I mean, now we are mostly limited to the spiritual communion.
Okay.
You remember when you watch live stream masses right before we receive, there is that prayer. which in these extreme situations that we know people are not able to physically receive communion, that the Lord will find a way of coming to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is difficult at this point.
It definitely is. But I think there's a spiritual opportunity in this season of fasting to see a Eucharistic fast.
Oh, yeah.
As a way to really prepare ourselves very profoundly for when we do get to receive the risen Lord in the sacrament during the season of Easter, right? We're going to say we're going to make it the season of Easter.
And hopefully it gives us the spiritual hunger for Him, a greater reverence for us as Catholics, communion.
Yeah.
Which we could take for granted, but now that we don't have it, we realize we can't live without it.
True.
So Donna asked a great question. We'll stay on the Eucharist theme for a couple.
All right.
Like for this
Thank
last.
you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. My understanding is that the tabernacle is empty on Holy Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
How? There must be extra Eucharist left over from Good Friday. Does the priest just eat all the extra Eucharist after Mass?
Well, we don't say eat, we say consume. But the answer is actually yes. I mean, on Holy Thursday,
That's awesome.
On Holy Thursday, we consecrate enough hosts for the Good Friday service, and you take your best guess as to what you're going to eat for Holy Thursday and for Good Friday. And if there is anything left over on Good Friday, it is consumed by the priests, the deacons, and other ministers, so that the tabernacle is empty on Good Friday.
Okay, I have a kind of a deep question, and then we got 2 questions left. Ready?
You wait these words,
I know.
it's
I
like less
just,
than
it just
7
came
minutes?
across on my list. It's on my list here.
Okay. See what I have to deal with, Mom? Since I've been 12 years old.
And you don't have to go in depth, and maybe it's something you could respond separately, and that would be, I think, helpful for people.
Okay.
Was there ever a point in your life where you questioned your faith?
My faith.
I don't think, when you say my faith, I don't think I ever questioned that there was a God. I don't think that was ever a situation. I can remember when I was on NET, I mentioned the National Evangelization Teams. I was on a team of 12 people, and it seemed to me that everybody else on my team were having these like little miracles or little signs or things from God. And I was like, well, how come I'm not getting anything, right? And when our supervisors came out, I said to the supervisor, I don't understand why everybody else is getting little signs from God or whatever, and I'm getting nothing. And she looked at me and she said, well, that's because your faith doesn't need them. I mean, the signs and the miracles are not for God to show off. They're always to lead us to deeper faith. And I'm like, okay, so I have faith. Now, that being said, there have been times when I'm wondering if God really knows what He's doing. I'm like, this doesn't seem, what's going on here? You know, I mean, since God works differently than I do, and as high above the heavens as, right? There are times when I'm like, what is God up to? I just don't get this. I don't think I doubt that God's there. I just don't understand what He's doing. Yeah.
For me, the most difficult times in life have been the times that I actually relied on faith to get through those times.
Yeah.
I remember 1986 when I and my father and brother came very close to being killed because there was a political revolution going on in my country. And it really was faith that saved the 3 in the family when 45 around us got killed. And then I was mentioning today in my homily about a time in the seminary. I remember 1994 when I had a difficult moment. I know I was not going to be ordained with my class. And I kind of was, it was a turmoil kind of situation. But then it was faith that really brought me through. And so faith has been an anchor for me. And I would not know what to do without it.
Amen.
All right. Last question, which I think is wonderful. We had multiple people, Anne, Tim, Mary, multiple people had asked, what does the parish need from the community, and how can the community help others?
Okay. What do we need from the community? We already talked about the importance of tithing, of your stewardship, your generosity to the community. We haven't had to ask for anything up to this point because we're doing okay. But with the extended stay in shelter order, your financial support will be very much appreciated. Outside of that, stay in touch with one another. If there are people who you know who are vulnerable, people in need, look out for one another. Check in with one another. Starting probably today, we're planning to try to call every family in the parish and check in with them. So do that for one another. If you'd like to, on our website, there's the helping each other part, again, on our home webpage, and you can just sign up and say, I'm willing to help someone, or you can sign up in a confidential way and say, I need help, and we'll arrange people to do grocery shopping or pick up medications or walk a dog or provide a meal, whatever that is. So look out for each other while you're out there. Again, this is the hope we will get through this together. God has brought us together as a community, and we're here to support one another. So, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, you did eloquently express what I wanted to say. I mean, we are in this together, and the Pope mentioned the boat as
Yes,
he was
yes.
preaching about the coming of the Son. He says, we are really in this together.
Yeah.
And if we can just pray for each other and help each other and hold each other in prayer, I think that will go a long way.
Yeah. Let us keep each other in prayer. That having been said, I know it's pushing an
It's
hour
8
already.
o'clock. We're 8 o'clock.
This-
And somebody asked about if you guys could post the spiritual communion prayer. If we can post that on the website. Is it on the website? Okay.
It is on. I went
If
away from
not,
our
if you're
website.
going to post it on Facebook.
But
you know.
if you go to our website, you will find where Sunday Mass is going to be. And I know, I'm getting all the signs. Find where Sunday Mass will be. There's a downloadable worship aid that has all the music and the prayer for spiritual communion. Or you can simply Google spiritual communion prayer. You will find it. I am stunned we've gone an hour. I didn't know if we were going to make a half hour. But thank you all for your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you,
God
Katie.
bless you.
If you'd like us to do this again, let us know. Email or hashtag Lieu Of The Pew. And probably not next week being Holy Week, but maybe the first week of Easter. We could do Easter in Lieu Of The Pew. But would be happy to be with you again. Thank you for helping me from going stir crazy tonight. Love you all. God bless. And
I hope you're doing well.
yeah, stay healthy, stay sane, and hope to see you all in person again soon. God bless.
We hope.
Are we clear? Maybe.